All right, now we're going to go over two different types of fatty acid. You have saturated and you have unsaturated fatty acid. And I want to compare the two in terms of three specific factors. The first is origin, of where they're presented. Most saturated fatty acids are found in animals. There are exceptions, of course. For example, there's certain plants that have saturated fatty acid. But majority of saturated fatty acids are found in animals, whereas unsaturated, our majority are plant-based. Okay, so majority of our unsaturated fats are plant-based. But again, there are exceptions to the rule. There are certain animals, for example, that have unsaturated and some plants that have saturated fatty acids. For example, coconut. Coconut is a saturated fat, whereas unsaturated fatty acids could be from, for example, fish. Fish have a lot of omega-3s. Omega-3s is a perfect example of an unsaturated fat, okay? Number one is where you find them. Second, when we look at it structurally, we can find that the difference between the two is saturated versus unsaturated. Is unsaturated fats have an extra double bond in their carbonyl regions. Now, okay? So there is a double bond that is found, whereas in the saturated fatty acid, there is not. And this double bond actually allows for these structures to change, generates these little kink structures that are being created, which gives to the final characteristic of saturated when we look at the actual physical property. The melting point for the saturated fat is higher than the unsaturated fat. Okay, what does that mean? Melting point is the amount of temperature required for changing the substance from a what? A solid to a liquid. Melting point is solid to a liquid. Saturated fats have a higher melting point, which means that at room temperature, saturated fats are solid. Vice versa, unsaturated fats are liquid. So if you were taking a health class right now and you're wondering, okay, which one's better for you? Just in terms of physical property, every fat you ingest has to enter your bloodstream. Which one would you rather have? Would you rather have the fat that at your body temperature would be liquid or solid? You'd want to have the liquid one, right? Because you don't want to clog these arteries and give you a problem. So that's why a lot of unsaturated fats are recommended for versus saturated. So people that eat a lot of very highly potent saturated fats, like your steaks, like your really fried material, anything that has a lot of saturated fats, what does that lead to? A lot of vascular problems, cardiovascular problems, atherosclerosis, cerebrovascular accidents like strokes, myocardial infarctions like heart attacks, okay, etc. And so avoid these and follow these. Okay, that's really important. Stay away from these. Do you see I'm making like a virtual X?